So much for normality. Turns out Freedom Day has been delayed till August the 16th. That's the only way to read the government's maddening decision to force anyone who has come into contact with a COVID carrier for 10 days to isolate for 10 days, even if they have been double jabbed and tested negative. The government is doing what it can to keep the hysterical scientists and media in check. But why on earth is there not more talk about the incredibly positive news to balance out the narrative? According to the ONS, 90% of English adults now have COVID antibodies. 90%. A handy combination of natural immunity and vaccination that surely makes herd immunity soon a very real prospect. More on that in a moment. The issue with the test and trace delay is that it makes it almost impossible for society to open up. The Adam Smith Institute estimates that as many as 4.6 million of us could be forced to self-isolate by the start of August. That will make it nigh on impossible for bars and theatres and many other businesses to open, not to mention NHS staff themselves. A third of hospitality workers are estimated to already be in isolation. As former Tory party leader Ian Duncan Smith put it today, I wouldn't go to a pub that wasn't still having 6 around a table and social distancing. Otherwise, you run the risk of everyone in the pub being pinged and locked down. It's great news the rule is being dropped, and I celebrate the new Health Secretary Sajid Javid realising it must happen. But it must happen on Freedom Day, not 4 weeks later. Otherwise, what the government is likely to find is that hundreds of thousands of folk will take matters into their own hands and delete the NHS COVID app to avoid the increasing possibility of being pinged. So is the government secretly pursuing a herd immunity strategy? And given the vaccination programme, is there anything wrong with that? The Daily Mail's well-connected political editor Jason Groves and executive Simon Walters today report that ministers hope an element of herd immunity will help slow the spread of COVID infections amongst the young. The phrase has become toxic since the start of the pandemic, with Dominic Cummings accusing the government of secretly attempting to achieve herd immunity despite official denials. But the Mail report, Department of Health officials are now referring to a strategy of hybrid immunity, involving vaccinating older, more vulnerable people, combined with a mixture of vaccinations and infections for the young. Now, they quote a Whitehall source saying this: there is an element of herd immunity in what we are doing. Obviously, the most vulnerable people, including all over 40s, have been offered both doses by the time we open up. Younger people are less at risk from serious problems with COVID. All adults will have been offered a jab by July 19th, but with cases running so high, it is inevitable that some people are going to acquire immunity through infection. It is not so much a policy aim as a consequence of the fact that we are having a third wave. Professor Robert Dingwall, a member of the Joint Committee on Vaccination and Immunisation, and I have to say, one of my COVID heroes, he told Sky News, it may sound like a hard and callous thing to say, but every person who gets infected is taking us towards that target of a level of population immunity where we are all protected against the most serious infections. That's what we need in order to bring this awful virus to an end. Not often I agree with Keir Starmer's Labour Party, but I actually think they're right that UK government ministers and the royal family should boycott the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics unless China allows UN investigators to examine alleged human rights abuses against Uyghur Muslims. Politics and sport don't mix, and our athletes should be able to compete. But this is not the time to be mixing and mingling with the Chinese Communist government, especially given the hell their COVID cover-up unleashed on the world. And bravo to the Duchess of Cornwall for speaking out against masks today. Camilla told a student at the Royal Welsh College of Music and Drama, I can't wait to get rid of these things. How refreshing to see a major public figure who isn't joining the virtue signalling brigade by saying we should stay muzzled in perpetuity.